Harvest rose hips with me, tour the fall garden, preserve rose hips, make fire cider, rose hips capsules, and more. Stay with me until the end to see them all. The rose hips are ready for harvest, and a lot of everything else in the fall garden is ready too, from the tomatoes that need to be picked and brought inside before it gets too cold, before the rain causes them to crack and we lose our harvest. So these rose hips are very abundant this year, and they are going to take a little bit of time to get them all off of this plant. This plant is a couple of years old, and I've been busy training it up this cattle panel to make a beautiful arch that's not only beautiful but also practical, much like our green bean arches. You can see that fall is here, the leaves are starting to turn brown, and the beans are all going to seed. The fall garden is about ready to put to bed. There are leaves everywhere, which the puppy enjoys, and the kids are super excited about these big pumpkins. The flowers are still showing off for now. It hasn't quite got too cold for them yet, so we're still bringing in bouquets from the garden. These rose hips will supply us with our vitamin C for the winter. They make wonderful jams and jellies, and of course tea. This arch is kind of getting away from me. Here you can see, while I'm not very tall, the arch is much taller than me, and it takes a little bit of effort to get all of the way to the top of the arch to clip those. You can see there's some wild bits that need to be trimmed, and yes, these have thorns, so I want to watch out for them. I do a little trimming while I'm harvesting the berries. It helps me to be able to get to where all the berries are, but also care the little wily branches while I'm at it. It's looking bushy and hairy here in the garden, not its prettiest state of the year, but it was quite an abundant garden, and it's still beautiful and green and full of beautiful flowers, especially these nasturtiums. Rose hips come in lots of different kinds. They're also known as rose haw, and not all roses make rose hips, so you need to have a certain kind. And these ones on the arch are dogwood roses, and they are the most productive roses. Let's head into the harvest kitchen, where we're going to clean up these roses and get them washed off. First, I'm picking out all of the ones that are not any good. It's been slightly cold here, and so some of these rose hips have a bit of frost kind of bite to them, and they're starting to degrade. Here you can see the inside of the rose hips, and now we're going to clean up the leaves and bits out of these. I started off just kind of doing them a little bit of at a time, and then decided they were just all going to go in the sink because that's just going to be a lot faster. And fortunately, all the leaves and gunk kind of separated from the rose hips this way and sunk a little bit to the bottom, and made it much easier to clean these up. When you're dehydrating rose hips, you want to make sure you have plenty of space in there. You don't need as much as you might think as you do with, say, like a strawberry or something that's more moist. And normally you would want to poke or prick berries so that they dehydrate faster. I didn't have any issue doing these whole without having to prick them. I had plenty of time and wasn't in a hurry, so I let them dehydrate on the fruit setting on my dehydrator for about 2 or 3 days, and they did just great. Now, some of these fresh rose hips I'm going to use to make a beautiful pink rosehip vinegar. This can be used in salad dressings and lots of different things. And here we are on another day. I ran out of time to finish up all the things I wanted to do. And before I get started, I'm going to take some of these dried rose hips from our store at Farmhouse Teas, and I'm going to grind them up here in my coffee grinder that I reserve for herbs only. Now that they're powdered up, we're going to get them put into some capsules so that they're super simple to take. I have this lovely capsule machine that I keep for all sorts of capsule making. You can see we did turmeric last or something that stained my machine. It's pretty simple. You just stick the powder inside after you fill it with the capsules, put the top capsules in the top thing, and then you put them together and it compacts it all into a capsule. I'm going to leave the link below for all of the recipes in today's blog, as well as all of the products you see here. This capsule machine is a must-have for any home herbalist. I'll make sure I share that link below as well. And there we have it, our rose hips capsules. Now it's time to make some fresh fire cider. If you're not familiar with fire cider, it's a very traditional recipe infused in vinegar that's taken daily as a sort of just tonic, or it can be used if you're feeling a little under the weather. These oranges, they just smell fabulous. You can use all sorts of different things, but the main ingredients in fire cider is some kind of a citrus, some onion, horseradish, garlic, turmeric, ginger, which I didn't have on hand this time around. And today we're going to put rose hips in ours since I have an abundance of them to use. But that onion, oh my, they are very strong. That is the fun part about cutting up raw fire ciders. The onion, garlic, and horseradish, they almost work while you're chopping them up and adding them to the jar. Time to take the scraps to the compost, and time to add our apple cider vinegar. You can infuse all sorts of things into raw apple cider vinegar, similar to like a tincture. It's a little bit different than a tincture, not quite as strong as an infusion, but it helps to pull out all of the good stuff in the food. Now, if you don't have horseradish or ginger root where you are, because sometimes it can be hard to find, we made this dry mix that you just dump in your jar. You don't even have to cut those onions that make you cry. You just add the vinegar, and I added some of those dried rose hips powdered, and we will have this jar ready to go in just a couple of weeks. This is what the fire cider looks like when it's all done. I'm going to take a little quick drink here. Whew, it's strong. But aren't these things beautiful? Between the raw ingredients and the rose hips, I think it's time to make some tea from these rose hips. Tea grown straight from the farm, right from the farm to the cup. As simple as adding them to a tea infuser with a little water, waiting a little bit, and then sitting down to enjoy. Thank you for joining me on the farm today, friends. I hope that we will catch you next time.